Okay, in honor of the newly released Thomas Nelson NKJV Classic Verse by Verse Center Column Reference Bible, I thought I would show some different verse by verse Bibles and compare their formats. And so I have here the Holman NKJV Large Print Ultra Thin Reference Bible, which also is verse by verse. Mainly I just wanted to show what the new Nelson verse by verse looks like in comparison with some other verse by verse formats. So just to show you quickly here, we've got the Nelson, which is in comfort print, and it is a good size font. This comfort print in this Bible is at least a 10-point font, I believe, so very good size. The numbers for the verses are red, and the references are also in red accents, so really nice. This is a red letter edition too for the words of Christ in the New Testament, but that gives you an idea of what it looks like. It has a poetic setting for poetic passages, so that's what that looks like. Now, I have a Holman reference Bible, and presently if you get the Holman ultra thin NKJV center column reference, what I have here is a verse by verse. And in comparing the two, I will say, I mean, they're both very nice looking. I think this has more of an old school look to it. The comfort print, I would say, has a more of a modern look, I guess you could say, overall, than the font that you're seeing here on the Holman. But there's a lot of similarities. So when you have the beginning of a section, or excuse me, a paragraph, you'll have a highlighted verse number, and you see that in the Holman as well. So this is kind of more the old school look, and the comfort print is a newer look. Another difference you'll see is the lines separating the center column references. This is a bigger font than this, and so there are more words per line in this Bible than in this Bible. But there are also a lot of similarities. So whenever you have a poetic setting in the Holman, you'll also see that it is poetic verses there. And you see that as well in the comfort print. We have their poetic setting here. So a lot of similarity there. Now, let me also show you an older Nelson. And this, I looked up, was from about 2010. And this is a center column reference verse by verse. So you can see this looks a little bit more like the Holman version, because you have the lines separating out the references. Whereas here you just have more space in between and no lines. The font is, I would say it's a clearer or a more crisp font than the Holman. So let me bring that Holman back out to show you. I found that the Holman font, and if you buy this one, this is still available and in print, it is a nice dark font. And as I said, it's got a good amount of characters per line. But it doesn't have as crisp of a look. It actually looks a little bit more like kind of an old school printing, if that makes sense, rather than a laser printing. And so that's actually kind of nice in a way, very traditional looking. But I find that the Nelsons, for some time, have had a crisper look to them. But this font here, this is a smaller Bible, is probably more like a 9-point font. Again, the paragraphs do have bolded verse numbers. So there's a lot of similarities here between all of these. But I really do like that you do get a bigger font now with the Nelson. And a lot of people have pointed out that that really helps a lot as far as readability. Also, when you do have poetry, you can see that they don't get a lot of characters per line, but they do try to divide up those phrases in good places. In the older version here from Holman, you tend to get a lot of sentences divided where it'll just be the last word of the line coming down to the next line. So that's a little bit of a difference, and that's very minor, just an aesthetic difference, really. I don't think it really affects reading or meaning all that much. One more look at this. Let's get to the New Testament. Now, the Holmans, I do believe, produce red letter New Testaments. This one is not. So what I noticed is that, for example, in the book of Matthew, in the Holman here, when we're in the Sermon on the Mount, that's black letter, but where it would have been red letter, looks just a little bit of a lighter print than where it's not Jesus talking. So I think that's interesting, and that especially was noticeable in the book of Matthew, but it's just slightly lighter than the other. Now, like I said, I think they do have a red letter format available, and this is red letter for the Nelson, and it's a nice shade of red. Looks good. Not the darkest red, but also not pink. It's just a good shade of red, so very nice. So overall, these are two nice versions, and here's an older Nelson, just to show you that one more time, which looks more like the Holman. So I think it's interesting to see the development of these different formats, but verse by verse is making a comeback big time. I'll show you one more verse by verse here. This is verse by verse reference Bible put out by Crossway, the ESV. And so this really looks different because the references in this one are in the bottom right hand corner. And so it has quite a bit of a different look. It does have larger margin space though, which is really nice. And then one other difference is that poetry in this Bible is not in poetic setting. So if you're getting the double column verse by verse for the ESV, it's not a poetic setting, but it is a really nice format for teaching and preaching. So that's that there. Just thought I'd show you the difference. This is more of a 9-point font. Lexicon, I believe is what it's called. And the NKJV is a 10-point and is the comfort print. So there you go. Nelson's doing a great job, and I think that shows you a little bit of the differences between these Bibles. Really classic, but a great update of a classic format. Thank you for watching this comparison video from a Frisch perspective.